is it's all about leadership. So my Courage Under Fire leadership session is a session that I'm very fortunate to travel around the country on, presenting to departments, presenting at conferences. In the next 90 minutes or so, I'm just going to give you a snippet of some of the highlights of the key points that I think are really critical for you to come home with. Obviously, if I have a 4-hour or 8-hour or 2-day session, we get a lot more in depth in a lot of these topics, and it's a lot easier with audience participation and so forth. So I'm just going to try to give you some highlights, some nuggets, and so forth. So really the focus of this session is there is no us versus them, because I hear that a lot. And I mean, I'm guilty of it. I think we're all guilty of, well, us or them. We do it for them. We do it for us. In today's world, we're all in this together. We wouldn't be here without the communities that we're here to serve, whether we're volunteer, career, combination, industrial fire departments, we're in this together. So I'm trying to break that stigma of us versus them. So hopefully that'll be my goal in the next 90 minutes. I serve as a deputy chief at the Santa Clara County Fire Department. I'll talk a little bit about that. I've been in the fire service for about almost 30 years, it seems like now. I think probably a little over 28 years. Had a lot of great opportunities. Spent about 5 years as a firefighter, then about 5 years as a captain. I spent about 6 years as a battalion chief, and now I've been a deputy chief for 9 years. I was training chief for about 3 years. Spent a couple of years as the admin chief, personnel officer. That's a fun position, but I really grew a lot with that position. Operations chief for a couple of years, now I'm back in training. And my real passion I'll talk about here shortly, but had a great career, and I'm hopefully going to inspire and challenge you guys to do many things on your end. So now, before I get any further, I just want to share, I'll share my contact information at the end so everyone has a chance to feel free to reach out to me after the fact. But my websites, the first one is code3firetraining.com. That's my main one for leadership, officer development, promotional preparation information. I'm not trying to hawk anything. If you look, it says free stuff. The free stuff link is there to help a lot of people. And I've helped a lot of people around the country, many who I haven't even met before. And sometimes I'm fortunate to meet them via email or in person. And they thank me for all the information on the website, because I can't be everywhere as much as I'd love to be. So I post a lot of stuff on there. So if you're an officer, firefighter, someone who's aspiring for promotion, please take the time to check that stuff out. And again, if you can't make the entire presentation, you have access to my information. Code3firetraining.com is my contact information on there. And then I also teach at Chabot College in Hayward, which is just south of Oakland. And Chabot Fire, CHABOT fire.com is the website there. And again, free stuff. So if you know of anyone that wants to be a firefighter, that's a lot of great information. So next slide I want to talk about. I saw a friend of mine, Ben Martin from the Virginia area, post this a few months ago on social media. This is another friend of mine, Mike. This is that whole, looks like someone just muted me. Let me see, can you hear me now okay? See the chat room? Okay, good, thank you. Gotta love Zoom, it just says you're muted here. So I'm trying to keep my eye on the screen, trying to keep my eye on the chat room and everything else. So I do have a lazy eye and it may come in place, but there is a method to the madness. Back to this slide here. It's not about us versus them. I love this because it's so true in today's world. A lot of people are quick to blame politics for all the finger pointing. They're quick to blame, well, it's President Trump, it's President Obama, it's this governor, it's this senator, this mayor. I think it's society in general. And I think that's the challenge. And we can't get sucked up in that minutia. Take a look at some of these hits here. I know it's a lot of wording. My enemy is fire, not the other firefighters, not your brothers and sisters, not the other platoons, not A shift, B shift, C shift, D shift, not the other firehouse, not your leadership, not your bosses, not the fire district you're going to run mutual aid with, not the citizens, not the enemy. The enemy is the stuff that that's trying to kill us. My enemy is fire. Are you with me? And I think statistics around the country are going to show all of us, and I don't mean to be sarcastic here, but fires make up pretty much 5% of our runs in most departments. Now, if you're not running EMS calls, obviously it's a higher percentage, but I still think the numbers are not there like they used to be. So that's the challenging part. Fires are still there though. There's sort of that high risk, low frequency thing that we really got to prepare for. I mean, that's what our academy prepares us with. That's what we need to train for. And we still got to have it happen. I mean, in my department, we don't fight fire that often. It's not uncommon. Our department's 15 stations, serving 7 different cities around the city of San Jose. We may have a working structure fire maybe once a week, give or take. second alarm maybe once every couple of months. It's hard for our troops to stay engaged, stay inspired, stay motivated. And I think that's very common around the country. And I think the key, though, is even though it's maybe 5% of our call volume, and in our department, it's actually 1% of our actual calls are fires, 5% dispatch. But anyway, it's not about us versus them. And you've heard a lot of great stuff from a lot of my friends, as I mentioned, and my focus is going to be on leadership, and I'll share that why here shortly. Now, I'm going to try to use the chat room here to engage people. And if some of you are not able to hear this, obviously I'm recording it, but if you're not able to hear this and you're not able to see the screen, it's going to be a challenge, but we're going to get through this. Usually when I'm in person teaching a class, I like to have everybody stand up in the room. We don't expect everyone to stand up in the room right now, but let's start with everybody. Maybe post it on the chat room if you can. I know don't want to do a lot of typing there, but raise your hand if your department has experienced a line of duty death. I know mine has. We lost Captain Mark McCormick in February 13, 2005. I remember that day completely. And I see some hands raising. Yes, a lot of departments have suffered an LODD. Even if your department has not had an LODD, even though we're still killing about maybe 90, 100 firefighters a year, it's going to happen. It may be 100 years from now, 1,000,000 years from now, but line of duty deaths happen. And I think it's prevalent. Okay. Now, if you're still standing or raising your hand, think about somebody number 2 in your department that's had a mental health or behavioral health emergency. You know, I see a lot of people saying yes to LODDs in their department, if not maybe another neighboring department. Second, mental health or behavioral health emergency. I think we can all say we know someone that's had maybe suicidal thoughts, they've actually committed suicide, or maybe had a mental breakdown, PTSD. Yeah, we haven't had a suicide. Our department of 330 plus personnel, thank God, knock on wood. We've had an LODD. We haven't had a behavioral health suicide that I'm aware of, but God forbid, we know it can happen. Now, next question, and I'm seeing some people yes to all. Those that can see all, I'll get to that shortly if you can't see the screen. First one I said is, have you had an LODD? Second, mental health or behavioral health emergency. Number 3, do you know of somebody, especially in your department, or a family or friend member, that, or yourself, that's had cancer? And then you look at the last one. Do you know somebody, maybe yourself, that's had punitive discipline? Or when I talk about punitive discipline, the bad stuff, the takeaways, termination, demotion, suspension, maybe a formal written reprimand in your file. So when you look at these 4 items on the screen, line of duty deaths, behavioral health emergencies, cancer, and punitive discipline, how does this tie into the presentation? Well, think about this. As a leader, whether you're a firefighter all the way up to fire chief, you have an obligation to be a brother or a sister, a family member. And we're going to talk tremendously about that. Having that courage to raise your hand to say, no, stop it, knock it off, we ain't going there. Wear your helmet, wear your SCBA, wear your whatever it is. So when you look at these 4 things, I bet you everybody in this audience has had at least one thing happen to them or their department, without a doubt. So that's my focus, is to try and prevent this stuff from happening. I'm going to leave the fire behavior to all the great propellers that were spinning before me. I got a headache from listening to some of the awesome stuff that was already being discussed, you know, by Chief Starnes, Lieutenant Daly, you know, Lieutenant Egan, Chief Lightley, all good dudes that have been talking about stuff. Joe Daly, Joe DeVito, good stuff. But I'm going to talk about the leadership stuff that's going to hopefully keep you safe, but more importantly, keep your crew safe, keep your crew healthy, keep their families healthy. So now I'll get a quick play. Who's who in the zoo? Just get a flavor around the room, maybe just abbreviations, but whether you're a firefighter, maybe company officer, chief officer, fire chief. I see battalion chief popping up there, firefighter medic, just trying to get a lay of the land of what the audience is. Good, a lot of captains, firefighters, assistant chiefs, testing for captain, stay firefighter, best rank in the world, dude. Nah, just joking. Chief of departments, good stuff. Looks like it's volunteer, career folks. Good combination of people. Here's the nice part about this stuff. When I talk about it's not us versus them, we're all in this together. There is no discrimination between any type of department, small or big, any type of rank. We all have an obligation to be leaders. You may think, well, that's the chief's job, that's the captain's job. Even a rookie firefighter should be a leader. Good. See a lot of different perspectives of ranks from around the country. Good. So we got a flavor, folks. Everyone, I think, can find value in what I'm talking about here. Now, let's start off with the disclaimers. I'm going to share some lessons learned. Obviously, if I'm in person in a class for a day, half a day, I share a lot more videos. The problem with videos obviously is the uploading, and especially if you can't see them now, it doesn't help at all. But I like to get more into video case studies when we're in person, because I think it really leads to a lot of discussion. But I'm also going to talk about a lot of pictures. Those are easy because those are static and those can come across. But if you can't see the picture, I'll try to describe it as well as best I can. So I'm going to share some pictures, some lessons learned. Now, what I want you to do with those pictures and lessons learned is, first of all, don't take offense to them. One of them may hit home to you in some capacity. I apologize. I don't mean to offend you. Every now and then someone's like, that's my department. Oh my God. Well, I try not to name names, but sometimes the names are out there based on the reports that have come out publicly or in the media or on the internet. So it is what it is. And the second bullet point that I mentioned here, ground rule number 2, imagine if you or your department was faced with these situations, could you do something differently to have a different outcome? Now, when I was teaching this class a couple months ago in Virginia, one of the firefighters put in his evaluation, he's like, Steve, he goes, all this stuff you talked about, which relate back to preventing line of duty deaths, preventing mental health emergencies, preventing punitive discipline from occurring. He goes, that stuff only happens in the big city fire departments. That never happens in our small little department. He goes, it's basically the rare 1 in a million stuff. And I'm going, if you haven't had a line of duty death, you haven't had a suicide, a PTSD issue, a mental health issue, someone fired, demoted, terminated, suspended, you know what, or even cancer, you're a rarity. It's going to happen. And the last thing I want any of us to have happen is have us get caught with our shorts down, especially if you're a chief officer or a company officer, because there's nothing more embarrassing as a boss, lieutenant, all the way up to fire chief, to having something bad happen in your watch. Trust me, I don't want that to happen. To me, if I were to ever have someone that I supervise directly, one of my crew members, ever suffer a line of duty death, maybe get cancer for something that I could have helped prevent with, maybe get disciplined because of something I could have said no to or kept them out of trouble with, I would hate that. I would go to my grave knowing I should have done something different. I should have had that courage to step up. So let's get into some of that stuff. Your mission, let's keep it simple here. Your mission is to take a nugget and put it to good use. A nugget from me or a nugget from someone else. You've heard some awesome information that I talked about over the last day and a half. So really, I'm going to talk about the 95%, and no disrespect to any of my brothers that have already talked about some awesome stuff. We still need to talk about the fire ground operations. I'm going to talk about the 95%. What I mean by 95% of, think about it. Where is most of your time spent? Most of your time is spent in the firehouse with your crew, especially if you're a company officer, dealing with stuff, whether it's occasionally fires, EMS calls, training, all that other stuff. If you're a chief officer, 95% of your stuff is people. So I'm going to talk about that type of stuff. Number 2, I want you to have the courage under fire to be the best, insert rank here. Best captain, best firefighter, best engineer, best chief, for those that you're fortunate to lead and serve, because it is a privilege to lead and serve folks. Looks like some folks are still struggling with the audio, some with the video. Like I said, I'm recording this stuff. We'll do our best to make it work and get it out to everybody. So thank you for your patience. Now, I challenge you to take at least one nugget. I prefer under-promising and over-delivering. That's why I say don't come out of here with 20 nuggets. I mean, if I can give you one good nugget, and each of the instructors can give you one good nugget, we've done our job. So now 3 just nuggets to think about. I like rules of 3. 3 nuggets to think about. One of our retired assistant fire chiefs made this comment that I just love. He told this to me as a captain, and I never appreciated it until I became a chief officer. Don Jarvis, loved that man dearly. He goes, Steve, no good deed goes unpunished. He goes, when you become a leader, no good deed goes unpunished. And it never dawned on me until I did my first, what I thought was good deed, whether it was helping someone out, throwing them a bone. Yeah, I threw them a bone or I helped them out. And the next thing I know, I didn't realize I might have helped them out, but down the line, the impact I did or the consequences to other individuals was a train wreck. And it's like, crap. Doesn't mean don't do good deeds. Do good deeds. Trust me, it's a human good thing to do, especially in this time and age. However, the key point is realize there's going to be impacts, consequences. Make sure you try to do your homework and your research and think those things through just in case. And you can still do your best homework and research. Bad things are going to happen, but hopefully nothing really bad. Second nugget, never be the highest ranking person in the room if something goes south. I say that because as a firefighter or engineer, you don't appreciate that. However, it's challenging when you're that highest ranking person in the room and things go south. When I say things go south, meaning someone's doing something inappropriate, illegal, unethical, guess where the fingers are going to start pointing? The fingers are going to start pointing toward you. Well, you, Steve, you didn't say anything. You didn't stop. You didn't say no. You didn't tell us that it was a bad thing to do. So basically what you permit, you promote. Don't get me wrong. Don't be scared, but just have that wherewithal that, especially if you're a chief officer or maybe just a company officer, when you're in that room and things start going south, you got two options: get the hell out of here, or hopefully raise your hand and have that courage to say, no, stop it. Let's change course. But we'll talk about that more. It sucks to be that person that says, hey, we ain't going there. Hey, you forgot where you came from. Hey, you know what? You sold out. You drank the Kool-Aid. Now I'm trying to cover your asses, and I'm trying to keep all of you safe and keeping you out of trouble. Yeah, you're covering yourself, but you're also covering them. Wait, it's not us versus them. The last nuggets from our fire chief, he shared this recently. One team, one fight. We're not in this us versus them. It's all of us in this together. Whether it's labor management on the same page, city, fire department, leadership, membership, one team, one fight. And if anytime we divert from that, guess what? Who's going to suffer? The public's going to suffer, not to mention everyone within the department. So think about that as we go through these things. It's not us versus them. Now, I live in San Jose. Our department, all the red dots, we're just west of San Jose, about 45 minutes south of San Francisco, if it gives perspective. So pretty much on the far west coast from everyone. Looks like most people are on the East Coast and Midwest. But anyway, just a little bit about us. Like I said, 7-city department, very great area to live, very high cost of living. So everyone goes, oh, you guys, good salaries. Yeah, check the cost of living. It's freaking crazy, as I see some of the pictures that were shared yesterday by Chief Lightly and Lieutenant Egan about vacant buildings. I'm like, wow. And then Ryan Pennington, same way too. So amazing stuff. But anyway, my why. I want to share a little bit about my why because I want to hopefully inspire you and maybe encourage you to do the same thing. Yes, I talk fast. It's a weakness. I try my best. So very high paced, but what can I say? I try. I mean well. My passion, let's get back to that, is helping people get hired and stay hired. Helping people get promoted and stay promoted. And when I say stay, that means get back to those 4 items. I want you to stay promoted, stay hired. Even if you never promote above firefighter, promote above engineer or captain, I don't want you to suffer a line of duty death. I don't want you to suffer cancer. I don't want you to suffer punitive discipline. I don't want you to suffer a behavioral health issue. I want you to stay there because ultimately I want you to be the best that you can be for the communities that you serve. And more importantly, enjoy a healthy and happy, safe retirement with your family and friends and loved ones. That's really my whole goal and passion. So that's where I come from. Now, my buddy John Dixon, I'm not sure if Captain Dixon from New Jersey is still on or not. He was on earlier, but he challenged me and a bunch of our friends to put together a personal mission statement. And I challenge you to do the same. Now, this is almost quite stupid as I look at it now. The intentions were there. I spent all these hours looking at mission statements and I'm going, I can't remember that. It should be like, if any of you remember Phoenix under Alan Bernasini, God rest his soul, a retired iconic chief, Phoenix was prevent harm, survive, and be nice. Heck, everybody remembers that. This mission statement looks like probably most of them on your firehouse walls where you look at it and you say, huh? Yeah, whatever. Fight fire, save lives, kick ass, take names, wet stuff, red stuff. I mean, I know more than that. But anyway, the reason it's here is it helps guide me. It helps guide me when I'm taking a promotional exam. It helps guide me when I'm having to deal with a personnel issue. It helps guide me when I'm maybe thinking of what to do or say. But anyway, I encourage you to put something together. And for those that are not on it, I'm not going to read it out because it's a long one, but obviously get the recording afterward and hopefully put context to it. Besides a personal mission statement. And let me say one thing. If any of you ever take chief officer promotional exams, like especially fire chief exams, assistant or deputy chief exams, it's not uncommon to get a question of, hey, so Captain Smith, what's your leadership style? What's your vision? What do you want to do when you become a whatever? Especially important to critically think about this stuff before you get there. And if you throw out, hey, I got a personal mission statement and also my next slide, my personal core values, maybe it puts you a step above. My core values, again, thanks to John Dixon, he challenged me to do these as well. I try to have something that I can remember, and I use these, and you'll hopefully see these throughout the presentation or anytime you hear me present, hear me talk, have a beer with me, whatever around the country, that I try to do everything. Now, trust me, I am not perfect by any means. I cannot go walk in my pool out there without falling in. I ain't going to walk on water. I ain't that perfect. None of us are. But I try my best and I strive to be the best that I can be. So I try to put something together that I can remember: clear tips, compassion, leadership, excellence, accountability, respect, and then tips: teamwork, integrity, professionalism, service above self. Now, somebody just made a comment on there. I interviewed for a promotion a few weeks ago, and that was one of my first questions: what's your leadership style and why? There is nothing worse. And like I said, promotional preparation is a passion of mine, as well as leadership and officer development. When I see people that, man, that was a trick question. There should never be a trick question on an interview, because that means you did not prepare. There is no trick questions in interviews. They're usually basic questions if you've actually taken the time to prepare and you know yourself inside and out. So that's just me. Now, my mission throughout this presentation, any presentation, I'm hoping to inspire you in some capacity, encourage you in some capacity, hell, challenge you. I'm going to hopefully educate you and expose you to different types of things that you may not be on your radar screen. Again, a lot of great information that you're exposed to. Some of the stuff I talk about is not the sexy stuff like fighting fires, saving lives. There's enough great guys, like you've already heard, already doing that stuff. I'm talking about the things that are going to hopefully keep you safe, keep you out of trouble. I'm not saying don't go in burning buildings. Hell, that's what we signed up for. We'll talk about the oath of office. There's a time to get our ass in that burning building to attempt to save a life. There's also a time to stay outside and hit it hard from the yard, God forbid. This guy's talked about transitional attack very well. It's not a bad word. It doesn't mean don't go inside. But anyway, my last thing is to share some nuggets or highlights of valuable information I normally get more in depth on, like I talked about when doing in-person sessions. So now I share this quickly. Like I said, I'm not perfect. This slide here, why I sucked as a new officer. When I was promoted to captain back in 2001, almost 20 years ago, I thought I was doing a good job. It wasn't until my brother-in-law, who was on the department, he goes, hey, you know what? You turned out okay. This is about a year after being a captain. He goes, you turned out okay, kid. And I'm like, oh, what do you mean, Chris? And he goes, well, we thought you'd be one of them. And I'm going, huh? He goes, you're a cool dude. And I took it as a compliment until I realized afterward it wasn't a compliment. You're a cool dude. You pretty much basically let everyone do what they want to do. I was basically like the substitute teacher that came in and pretty much let everyone just run amok. I didn't hold them accountable. I mean, I was nice. You got to be nice. Love all the Zoom comments right now. Thank God he didn't buy. At first, sorry to digress here for a second. I almost thought about buying Zoom stock right now, because they always say buy stock when it's low, but it's like, I guess glad I didn't buy Zoom stock right now. But hey, at some point it'll go high, I would assume, because they better get their stuff together. But anyway, I sucked as new officer because I was trying too hard to be everyone's friend. I was trying to be that buddy. Hey, there's a time and a place to be the buddy, but again, if you're that officer, lieutenant up to fire chief, you are the boss 100% of the times. You're the supervisor 100% of the time, but there's a time and a place to be the buddy when appropriate. That's the balance that I want to share. I'm not saying hammer everybody, but I'm not saying don't ever hold people accountable. That's really my whole focus. So one of the books I have on the shelf behind me is Dr. Seuss's book, My Book About Me. I was looking at it. Dr. Seuss books have been around forever. If you were parents, my wife and I have been married for 20 years, but we don't have kids. But the funny thing is, Dr. Seuss books are still around. And I was looking through that a few years ago, and My Book About Me is, what do you want to be when you grow up? And of course, what do I want to be when I grow up? I had fireman on there, baseball player, and musician or rock star, because I love those things and still do. And it was like, well, I guess I enjoy going to concerts, love rocking out to all types of music, from Slayer down to Metallica, down to Foreigner, Styx, yacht rock, up to heavy metal, to whatever. It's my passion. It's my outlet. Now, I also love baseball, enjoy baseball, but I enjoy family and friends. Now, you see a lot about me. Obviously, I try to be as professional as I can when I put stuff on social media. Obviously, fire department stuff, see some promotional stuff, hanging out with friends, doing work-related stuff, hanging out concerts. Obviously, on the top left picture here, back at Firehouse Expo in Baltimore. It's been a few years since Baltimore. Nashville, a bunch of us Firehouse Kitchen Table members got together. You'll see in the back there, Mike Daly, see obviously John Dixon up front there, Andy Starnes, Joe DeVito. We got a few of the band together there, which was great to have a nice little dinner. That's what it's about. Also, like I said, enjoy baseball and everything else. I'm sharing this not to brag. I'm sharing this because you got to have an outlet. What did I just talk about? One of the first slides was behavioral health and mental health issues. You got to have balance. You've got to have balance, because this job, especially the higher up you go, is going to test you and challenge you. I mean, a friend of mine just got promoted to fire chief in Texas the other day, and I called him up and I go, hey dude, congratulations. He's like, holy crap, Steve, what a friggin', yeah, someone just posted lonely at the top. No shit, Sherlock. Sorry. He goes, what a time to be promoted to fire chief. He goes, I got all this normal stuff as it is, then the COVID-19. Oh yeah, dude, you'll do a great job. But this is the test, like I said, it's not a challenge, it's an opportunity. We'll rise above this. So we got to have a balance. Don't get me wrong, when I'm at the fire department, I'm fully engaged. I love talking about this stuff, even over a beer or at dinner or hanging out with friends, but I also enjoy my other things. So find your balance to keep your sanity and to help others. So my next slide here. This is my hero. I just jokingly say this will be me, hopefully in about 30 years if I'm still alive here. Maybe the audio comes through or not, but it's a picture of an old man at the side, on the side, being photographed, or excuse me, filmed by a couple of guys, younger guys probably. And here's the old guy. I'll talk about it in a second.
Well, everyone at one time or another has been caught doing something silly or being in a zone while you're driving, right? Well, that's exactly what happened to this older gentleman. Take a look. Oh, he is jamming out. You cannot deny he has got love for Metallica. Fans seem well, actually, they were driving past him, and they seem to be wanting to rock out with him. They stopped out, pulled out their phones to get some video of it. So far, more than 500,000 views on YouTube.
Yeah,
rock on.
Heart. Love his style.
Love it. Mike Daly said, I think it's the guy who tried to run him over on his bike earlier. Isn't that the truth? Basically, what it was an old guy in about his 80s just headbanging a Metallica out there. That's hopefully me. Hopefully still driving, hopefully still alive. But again, you got to have your passion, find it. But again, don't let your passion get the best of you. So that's just about me. So 3 critical areas I want to discuss for the rest of the presentation about courage under fire leadership. First, focus. We've talked a lot about all these things, but I want to focus on the number one most important thing, I think, which is personal leadership, meaning you. You can't be a leader of any if you're not a leader of one, as they say. So I want to talk about personal leadership, then I want to talk about personnel leadership. Excuse me, and I say that only because it's probably the most important thing. Why? Because think about it. Whether you're a company officer or chief officer, you're supervising your personnel 100% of the time. You may not see them, like if you're a battalion chief supervising 5 or 6 stations, you may not see your crews every day. But again, that's our number one focus. Number 2, obviously, firehouse activities, which is still usually our crew. And then obviously 3, fireground go, no-go situations. I'm not, like I said, there's been a lot of great discussion on those so far. I just want to cover a few things just in my point of view that I'll hopefully add to the conversation. But first, to ensure we're on the same page, I want to share some common words that I like to make sure I cover in every presentation. When I'm fortunate to do presentations around the country, or like this, I try to say things not to check boxes. I say things because I truly believe in them, and I want to make sure they're not confused or clouded up or whatever else. So if nothing else, it's always about number 1, family and brotherhood. I think there's a lot of people that mistake the term brotherhood and what that means. And first of all, brotherhood's not a sexist term. Let's not get it. Brotherhood means all of us are in this together, however you want to phrase that. Now, a lot of people, family and brotherhood, they confuse the two, they integrate the two. They're both unique. They both have a time and place to be the same, but they also are sometimes different, and we'll talk about that. And that's what it should be about. So anything I'm talking about is meant to really encourage brotherhood and encourage family. Number 2, it's always about doing our job. When I talk about personnel expectations, which I'll touch on in a little bit, I always joke about, I wish my expectations would be very simple. Because think about it, many departments, we probably have policy manuals that are, for any of you old enough, and I don't mean this disrespectfully because I respect all generations, we'll talk about generations too. Think about the time when we used to have phone books, or even really dating myself, a Sears catalog, which, Sears, what the hell is that? I know, just Google that stuff, GTS, Google that shit. Those phone books used to come out and they're like a few inches thick. That's like most of our policy manuals. I wish our policy manual could be 1 page, do your job. But I think we all realize it's not as easy as that because of, unfortunately, when there's not a policy, that's the biggest complaint. Hey, there was no policy that said I couldn't do that. There shouldn't be a policy to tell you what to do everything, but we have to provide direction. But doing our job is critical. It also means courage to being a leader. Yeah, it sucks to be a leader and be that guy or that gal that raises your hand when things are going south. Anyway. Okay, someone goes, I did my toy shopping in the Sears catalog every Christmas. See, I know there's always somebody. And let me just divert on that for 1 second. It's very easy for the older generations to bash the younger generations. Well, it goes both ways. We all have issues, trust me, from people 100 years old down to newborns. If you're one of those older ones that are bashing the younger generation, but then you're the younger generation bashing the older ones, like, what are you talking about? Rotary dial phone? What are you talking about? Sears catalog? I don't get that shit. You know what? We need to be able to be on the same page to have a conversation with anybody. And I think that's a good leader, is they're able to not let that stuff get the best of them. If nothing else, number 3, it's always about teamwork and team building. We get this job done by teamwork. We get it done through team building. This is stuff we don't always teach people. In the Fire Academy, we teach you how to pull hose, throw ladders, don SCBAs, maybe do some EMS stuff, do some hazmat stuff. But you know what? At the end of the day, we don't teach a lot of our officers about how to be good leaders, and it sucks. And in all honesty, some of the best training is not spending money. I mean, a lot of people say we need all these certifications, these educational components, these degrees, these classes. Hey, all that stuff is good, but it's not everything. To me, the best teamwork and team building is what we learn from our officers. Best officer development is what we learn from our mentors as we go through the ranks, good and bad. And speaking of mentoring, the 4th item is it's always about mentoring and training our replacements. We all have an obligation to train our replacements. Don't just be there, well, I'm a 3-year veteran on the job, you know, or 330, as some people say, 3 years on the job, and they think they've been there for 30 years. Guess what? You could be 2 years on the job and have seniority because your department just hired some rookies below you. In some ways, you may be a senior firefighter on shift. That's the message we got to send, that everybody that we're hiring today, they have an obligation to train their replacement, even if they don't want to promote. Next item, number 5, teachable moments. It's all about teachable moments. I mentioned earlier, it ain't about hammering people. Trust me, I'm not here to hammer people. The reason we have progressive discipline is what's known as a ladder of progressive discipline, termination being the worst, usually expectations being the start of it. Expectations, holding people accountable, coaching, counseling, maybe oral counseling, written counseling, all the way up to termination, is because it's there to change behavior. Some get it with just a simple, hey, knock that crap off. That works. That's a good teachable moment. Sometimes you got to go higher. So that's my goal, is, again, it should be teachable moments, but sometimes people need to be hit harder than that without leaving bruises, hopefully. Next item, it's all about prompting for success. This is a term I heard years ago that I just love. We all have an obligation to prompt each other for success. Those above, those below, those the same ranks. We do a great job in the academy of that. We teach our rookies, I bet you in your rookie schools, I bet you all teach them, hey, if you see something, say something, do something. Then what happens? Then they raise their hand, and the next thing you know, as soon as they say, hey, Cap, I don't think we should go inside that burning building. I think the roof is going to collapse. Well, I hate to say it. What are most captains going to say at that point? Hey, shut up, kid. You got 2 ears, 1 mouth for a reason. And then, of course, what did that just do? Here's the rookie prompting the captain for success, and they're going to shut up for the rest of their life. We got to do a better job at this. So I'll touch on that as well, too. I think it's okay to sweat the small stuff, number 7. Little stuff, if not dealt with, leads to small stuff. Now, I'm not saying be a micromanager. I'm not saying be a freak, paranoid. Keep an eye on the small stuff, because they may be little symptoms of bigger things, sort of like an iceberg that may be ready to break free. Number 8, it's always about those we're fortunate to serve, not us versus them. When you're a leader, you're fortunate to serve everybody. Serve those within your department, serve those in the community. The 9th item, it's always about striving for greatness. And when I talk about striving for greatness, what I mean by striving for greatness is being the best that we can be at all times. We're not perfect. Perfection is never going to happen. However, we got to continuously try to raise the bar and not allow mediocrity or incompetence to be the standard. Well, hell, and I remember one of my chiefs years ago goes, hey, Steve, remember, because I was complaining about one of the newer kids. He goes, Steve, you know what they call a doctor who passed medical school with 100% on their boards and a doctor that passed with 70%? What, Chief? They call them both doctors, whether they're 70% or 100. I'm like, great, Chief, thanks. But I get it. I understand it. Are they meeting the standard? And Regina writes, it's written on our whiteboard. Can you leave it better than you found it? Hey, that should be the simple mantra for all of us. Don't screw things up. At least leave it better than you found it, even if it's a little bit better. And of course, the last item on this one, it's always about leadership, which is what really the whole focus of this is. So touching on here, courage under fire leadership. The first area I want to talk about, like I said, is personal us, and then personnel leadership. So first slide I have here, if those can't see it, it states simply, are you ready for a leadership role? Now, when I'm in a class, I like to have everyone, hey, raise your hand if you think you're not in a leadership role. And I usually have a few people that, oh, I'm just a firefighter, I'm just an engineer, or I'm just a volunteer, or I'm just a whatever. And it's like, no, 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 no. You're not just a whatever. Okay, perfect. Someone just, Chief Ling just mentioned, since I can't hear, that we'll filter all the questions at the end through the chat room perfectly. I'd be happy to stay on board after that and deal with those things. So good point. And Mike Benadia says, and I probably screwed the name up, everyone has potential to be a leader, color, brass or not, affirmative. So all of us are in leadership roles. And if you're a fire chief, fortunate to be in that role, I hope you stress that with everyone that you bring on. Your rookies, your people, those that you promote. I hope that you're the one that basically says, hey, you know what? Congratulations for making it to the big leagues, or congratulations on getting promoted to company officer or chief officer. And when you have that expectation speech with that new person, let them know that I expect you to step up. Raise your hand if you see something. Have the courage to say, no, stop it. Now, we'll talk about that again as we go on. It's going to be painful when you raise your hand sometimes, because the blanket party will exist, or everyone else, the brotherhood will shoot you down for going against the grain. But again, we'll talk about that, how lonely it can be. So if you think you're ready for a leadership role, let's take a look at this next picture. Now, if you can't see the picture, I like sharing this as well too. It's a picture of a guy holding a sign that says basically, if you want to make people happy, don't be a leader, sell ice cream. If you want to make people happy, don't be a leader, sell ice cream. There's a lot to be said about that. That's one of the reasons I think I could have been a better company officer 20 years ago. I wanted to make everyone happy until I realized I can't. You wake up in the morning deciding whether it's going to be a rockin' day or a crappy day. I know that's sort of weird sometimes, that some people may not have control over the challenges in their life, but you know what? And I'm not everybody. My feeling is, you know what? I can wake up and be miserable. I can wake up and be happy. But anyone, if you want to be a leader, don't just sell ice cream. A good friend of ours, Sean Oak, chief out of North Carolina, I remember he retired about a year ago. And I'm like, you retiring? He goes, you know, I've had enough of being a chief. I'm going to run the family bakery. I'm like, because I'm done with grievances. I'm done with issues. I'm done with politics. I'm done with all that stuff that being a chief, stressful stuff for a fire chief. He goes, I'm going to go to the bakery. I go, what are you talking about, dude? I go, that's stressful. He goes, no, it's not. Hey, you want a chocolate chip cookie? Hey, you want another chocolate chip cookie? People got smiles on their faces. Oh, you want a ginger snap? You want a sugar cookie? Sell ice cream, sell bakeries, do the stuff that make people happy. But again, we need good leaders to step up. So hopefully I'm not discouraging you. Hey, if I'm discouraging you, that's okay. Stay at your current rank. But hopefully I'm encouraging people too, because we need good people to step up. Now let's talk about a little bit more about, are you ready for leadership here? Now, backwards here. A few things I like to talk more in depth about, but if you think you're ready for leadership, and I share, if you're an officer and you have those below you that you're mentoring, you know, aspiring company officers, aspiring chiefs, again, we're all supposed to be mentoring others, training our replacements. I encourage you to challenge some of this stuff with, share some of this stuff with them and challenge them with some of the stuff here. You know, the items, if you're ready to be part of the solution, then you know what, you may be ready to step up for leadership. But if you want to be just part of the problem, if you're that guy or that gal that just wants to take the pin off the grenade, throw it in your boss's office and say, hey, your problem, boss, I'm out of here. You ain't ready for leadership. Because when that happens, it's like, no, get back in here, dude. I got enough stuff on my plate. I'll help you solve this problem. Let's talk about this problem. But you got to be willing to be part of the solution, not just the problem. Number two, are you ready for leadership? You're not currently overwhelmed. I love it when I send an email to a firefighter or a captain, and every now and then I'll be like, hey, did you get the email I sent you? Well, I don't remember that, chief. I got man, a chief information overload of all the stuff that comes out. And I'm like, seriously. And I remember a firefighter one time, I go, dude, how many emails do you get a day? Well, chief, I think, you know, not personal, but the work emails, I think I maybe get like 20 emails a day at the most, which is probably exaggerating, but maybe they're right. Maybe average 20. I'm like, dude, I can be in a meeting for an hour and a half with my phone away from me because I'm having a meeting that doesn't need to have me by the phone, and I can put that thing back, take it off do not disturb, and have like 25 just in hell, an hour and a half pop up. God forbid I put it on do not disturb for 8 hours. Good Lord, it'd be like 100, give or take, maybe not that much. You think you're overwhelmed at your current rank, it doesn't get easier as you go up. And anyone that's a chief right here, it just goes more, and that's okay. We all get overwhelmed. But again, if you're not handling your current rank, you're probably not ready to step up any higher. Now, the next item. Number 3, you're willing to put service above self. This is an interesting time right now. And I'm not saying what the right answer is, but the right answer is the reason we're here is to serve those that want us to be here, whether we're volunteer, career, combination. Service above self. Number 4, you're willing to make decisions. Decisions are usually easy as a company officer. Hey, what do we have for lunch? Well, I take that back. One of the most toughest decisions at the firehouse, correct me if I'm wrong, was always, what's for lunch? What's for dinner? I mean, that was stressful as it is. I get it. But when you go on a call to help Mr. and Mrs. Smith, those are usually pretty much easy decisions. You solve problems. Now, as a chief officer, it gets very tough because decisions you make now don't just affect a crew of 3 or 2 or 1. You're affecting potentially a lot of people, the whole department, a whole battalion. So it's challenging sometimes to make decisions, but you got to do it. And then the last item is you got to tolerate conflict and knowing someone may not like you for what you stand for or what you do. But again, hopefully those that don't like you for what you stand for or what you do, you're doing it in the best interest of the fire department and the community. More importantly, you're making decisions. As someone said, make a decision, stick with it. And I agree. But again, you don't want to be indecisive, but again, you also don't want to put your stake in the ground, and when you have more information, you're not willing to be flexible. There's time and a place to throw the towel in, but there's also time and a place to stick with your guns. So I totally can appreciate that. Now, I wish someone would have shared this with me years ago as a new company officer. I had a chief of ours share this with me, and I share this with all of our new officers, and this scares the crap out of them. And I don't mean to scare the crap out of them, but we had an officer academy. We did, thank God we got it in January, February. We did a 2-week officer academy for all those that made our captain's list, those 14 of them. And I shared this with them, and I think I had some of them going, I don't want to be a captain anymore. But I go, it's not just a captain. It could be you as a firefighter. But look at these words here, and I'll try to speak these since I know not everyone's listening right now. Did you know that you or one of those you supervise or work with, because you could be a firefighter or engineer, has a better chance of suffering punitive discipline, like I touched on earlier, written reprimand, transfer, suspension, demotion, termination, the takeaways, or getting cancer, or having a behavioral health emergency, than getting killed in the line of duty, the 4 bullet points I talked about previously. Now, think about that. I'm not downplaying line of duty deaths. Without a doubt, we need to do a better job. Now, I'll also say some line of duty deaths we're never going to prevent. As Chief Starr says, or all the above, isn't that the truth? We're never going to prevent line of duty deaths. And I'll look back at 9/11, 343 that lost their lives. Okay, how do you prevent that? And if you look at those 343, how many lives did they save? They saved more than we'll ever know by getting people out of the building, helping others, doing all those other things. So, hey, that's what we took the oath of office for, but hopefully it's for the right reasons. Now you look at, we're killing about 100 firefighters a year, give or take, with line of duty deaths. Now go up, suicides are by far outranking line of duty deaths, not just fire, but law enforcement, I think in the world in general. More and more people are getting cancer. And then again, I don't have the exact numbers because discipline is supposed to be private, but I bet you if we were to do a little internet search and some research, or talk to my buddy Kurt Verone out of Rhode Island, who does a lot of stuff on this topic, there's more people that are suffering punitive discipline than obviously getting killed in the line of duty. Now, I don't know about the suicide numbers and the cancer numbers, but they're all probably very similar. Again, this is our job to hopefully prevent this from happening. Now, the next slide that hopefully will scare the crap out of some people. And again, I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just trying to open your eyes because, again, as a company officer, especially realizing that you have a responsibility to be able to hopefully prevent some of these things. So you can at least go to your grave going, I did the best I could, but I couldn't control it. Now, you're not just a fire officer. Think about this. For those that are company officers and above, you're an HR professional, you're a risk manager, you're a health and safety officer, you're a training officer, you're a leader, manager, supervisor, follower. I actually like collaborator versus follower, but that's a whole other issue. But anyway, collaborator sounds more at the same level than follower does. But anyway, you may go, what do you mean? I'm a company officer. I run Engine 3 on the B shift. Steve's our training officer. Yeah, I'm a department training officer. I'm a department health and safety officer, but it's Saturday, whatever, 12:45 on the West Coast. If something bad happens, I'm not there. I mean, I'll come in and deal with it if I need to, but think about all these things. Our HR staff is off duty on the weekend. Our risk manager, she's our business director, she's off on the weekend. Who's there 24/7 at a firehouse? It's typically a company officer supervising everybody. And somebody else mentions Chief Lightly, also a parent, marital counselor, and teacher. Ain't that the truth, brother? Hallelujah. I mean, all these things. And you may go, well, hell, I'm just going to stay a firefighter. Okay, even if you just stay a firefighter, you still have an obligation to step up and raise your hand sometimes, because maybe you work for a company officer that isn't doing their job. Don't believe me? Look at the recent naval episode that just happened where that Navy commander, and I don't have all the details, that Navy commander basically got fired or relieved of his rank because the ship that's still out there right now, he basically raised some safety concerns. Now, there's people that are saying, hey, maybe he did it inappropriately. He should have followed the chain of command. Again, we don't have all the facts. But again, sometimes you're the lowest ranking, well, he wasn't the lowest ranking person, but sometimes it takes a lower ranking person to raise their hand. So you may not know a lot about risk management or HR, but you know what? You better learn it. Maybe it's in your state officer certification, if you even had to do that. Maybe it's in some of your degrees, if you had to go through a bachelor's degree. Some of that stuff may be in there. But I'll be honest, if you've never had any of this training, you better start learning it, because you can't use the excuse, well, no one ever trained me. You can use the excuse, but it usually doesn't hold up. And again, I don't want to have to be the guy that tells my chief, you never trained me on that stuff, knowing something bad happened on my watch where I could have done a better job, without a doubt. I mean, I take ownership in what I do. And if I need to do the training, I can't wait for the department to do it. As also mentioned, yeah, pediatrician, mechanic, psychiatrist. Yeah, psychiatrist. Thanks, Chief Fling. Now, let's talk about personal leadership a little bit. Here's a parking lot by my house. It's not a vacant or abandoned, and it's weird. Like I said, I watched some of the vacant structures that the guys were sharing yesterday, Youngstown, Ohio, from John, and Buffalo from Sean, and, Penny Ryan from Charleston. I look at some of this stuff. We don't have any of that, but again, never know right now if we're going into recession, what's going to happen. Now, here's the thing. This is a car that parks this way every day. I drive by it because it's on my way home and to work, a lot of other things. But anyway, I see this car all the time. And it's not a Ferrari, it's not a Maserati. I mean, it's not a bad car, but obviously someone really loves their car. And I mean, I love my car too. But leadership starts with us, because if we were in class, we could have a good, robust discussion. Now, if you really think about it, what does this tell you about this person? And again, you may say, well, Steve, you can't judge a book by its cover. You can't understand it without getting the full picture. Guess what? In today's world, we don't get a second chance to make a first impression, and perception is reality, like it or not. With today, people shooting video of us doing everything and anything out in the public, and with people taking pictures, they don't care. What they see is what they get. Now, I'm starting to see some interesting comments here, self-centered individual. Now they're just an asshole, selfish. They think the rules don't apply. Yeah, entitlement. Now, before you say, well, it's just the younger millennials are entitled. You know what? I hate to say it. Everyone seems to be, not everyone, because I bet you a bunch of us are not entitled, but take a look at the world in general. Guess what? Entitlement is alive and well, from our senior citizens down to our new kids. Someone said shopping cart would magically end up at its side, just saying, or someone would key it, or whatever else. Yeah, it's not just the millennials. People of all ages. And the sad part is, these are people, think about it, that are training and raising the people that we're hiring and promoting. These are obviously probably someone's parents, someone's grandparents. So if this is the way they feel about leadership, how do you think they're doing on the job? Or what do you think they're doing training their folks? So leadership has been never, more challenging than today, because of society in general, the challenges, because this is what people see. Now, the sad part is, let's say you're Joe, the security guard for the, or let's say it better, Paul Blart Mall Cop, observe and report. Let's say you're Paul Blart Mall Cop, and you're going through in your Segway around town here, and all of a sudden you go up to this person, whoever it is, and say, hey, by the way, nicely, kindly, professionally, ma'am, sir, would you mind parking in one of the stalls correctly here, just so nothing hits you like a shopping cart and nobody accidentally keys you? Not that anyone would do that. Yeah, right. Just please do that. What do you think the person would do? Oh, thank you very much, officer. I really appreciate the prompt for success. You'll hear that term again. I appreciate the prompt for success. My apologies, my bad. We all know that ain't the truth, right? Usually it's going to be that person cocking their head, holding their hips, doing whatever, and basically saying, seriously, you've got nothing better to do than to bug me. Look at all these. There's nobody else parked in this parking lot. And again, for those that can't see the picture, it's a parking lot with hundreds of parking spaces and a car parked basically perpendicular the way it should be, not in the spot. that person is probably going to jam up Paul Blart Mall Cop and basically say, you overpaid Mall Cop, you need better things to do. And then they're going to post it on Nextdoor, then they're going to post a negative Yelp review, or then they're going to post a negative whatever in whatever group or forum they use, basically bashing poor Paul Blart for just what? Doing his job. That's the sad part about today's society. You and I aren't going to change it, but we got to live within it. So without getting pissed off about it ourselves. But again, leadership starts with us. Next picture. I'm out for a bike ride the other day, and this is before all the social distancing was getting into play. This is a couple weeks ago. Finish up a bike ride, and I'm looking at this. Now in California, I can't speak for every other area. California obviously has laws that basically kids under 18 have to wear helmets. But I look at, I just look at this and I just sort of chuckle. And I'm not telling you how to do parenting advice, obviously, because like I said, my wife and I have been married 20 years. She works for another fire department. It works for us, but again, I'm the last to give parenting advice. But anyway, I look at this. If you're a parent, shouldn't you be leading by example? I mean, I love it when I see parents that are wearing their helmets just like their kids are, or doing the right thing. And then everything else, yeah, someone says, do what I say, not what I do. And again, we wonder why we have a problem in society. And, Lisa, just wear your helmet. And then when you're 18, you don't have to wear it anymore. It's like, I mean, whatever. But anyway, do the right thing. People laugh at me at my age of wearing my helmet when I'm bicycling. It's just like, you know what? And not just wearing it, but having it secured versus just dangling down, But anyway, leadership starts with us. So basically, next picture. This is our neighbors in San Jose. This is a picture. And before this starts blowing up on the chat board, this is a picture of a fire hydrant with a car parked next to it and a 5-inch supply line basically going to a fire engine. And it's basically one of those bucket list moments in every firefighter's dream. You can't tell me this is every firefighter's bucket list to be able to pull a backdraft or pull whatever and smash the windows out on the car just to snake the supply line through, give the thumbs up, give the high five and everything else just to be able to, say, I took out the windows of the car. Now, this hose line, I get hose line kinks. This is not, there are no kinks in the hose line. You could probably say there is one if you look at the hydrant there, but I don't think it's enough to basically impede the water flow. So we're good there. But when I saw this, San Jose Fire, their union posted there basically saying that, hey, as a public service announcement, folks, please remind yourself and others, don't park in the red zone because it's there for fire engines. It's there to get access in a short amount of time, blah, blah, blah. They were trying to be positive about it. Now, that had like 2,000 likes on it. And at the time, I don't know how many it is now. Imagine if that crew had broken out the windows, whether they needed to or not. Hell, that thing probably would have went viral with about 1 million likes by now, with how many thumbs up and high fives and all that other stuff. Yeah, Rocky nailed it. But we're better than that. Hey, there's a time and a place to bash the damn window. I get it. But you know what? There's a time and a place to also personal leadership. Do the right thing. I know you can call them a dumbass for parking there or whatever else, but you know what? Don't let that get to you. Instead, focus on what you need to do. Now, I remember looking at this and thinking to myself, that's a lot of leadership there for that crew to be able to do that. And you know what? I know some of you are going, oh man, they missed a great opportunity. I know they did, but you know what? Give me that crew any day. Because as fun as it is, remember the fun stuff, even when it causes damage and even when it feels good, we know is going to result in a lot of paperwork after the fact and a lot of, dear chief, nobody was more surprised than I when this happened. I had a captain that used to always start out, dear chief, nobody was more surprised than I when Ralph did this. It's like, oh God, I get it, but you know what? Let's do the right thing. So give me that crew any day because that's leadership for that company officer. Next picture is a picture of one of our fire engines. Now, it's a picture of our fire engine, and for those that can't see, there's a 5-inch supply line snaked in there. There's a couple lines going off it, pre-connected hose lines. You got a firefighter and an SCBA breathing air up on the top. Yeah, Chief Starnes, you're correct. When you're mad and it feels good, don't do it, from Chief Bernasini. God rest his soul. Good comment. Got a firefighter with SCBA on top of the engine. They're basically have the deck on their operating. Got my engineer at the pump panel. This is what I see when I get my my deputy chief SUV there. I get there on the second alarm. I'm not dispatched. We send 2 BCs in the first alarm, then the third BC on the second alarm. Then the deputy chief, that's the on duty chief, will come out there and just, hey, what can I do for you guys? What can I help out? Try to give props and make sure everything's going and see if there's anything I can do. But this caught my eye because I've never seen a driver with an SCBA on. A driver with an SCBA on at the pump panel. And if you look at this, there's a lot of smoke drifting around. And basically to the right of the engine is a house that's on fire. In Cupertino, very close to Apple Computer headquarters, the big spaceship. That's where, in our first 2 area, Apple and all their buildings, along with Netflix and Los Gatos as well too. But anyway, I go up and I'm going, dang. And then to the left of this, I wish I would have gotten a picture of this. There's a battalion chief at the command buggy, basically parked in the driveway across the street with his SCBA on. Now, he's not breathing air because there's no smoke over there yet, but he has his SCBA on with the back open. I mean, I know there's pros and cons of being in the buggy, outside the buggy, but he chose to be outside, and he's getting his tactical worksheet. Now, someone mentioned is there bad winds, and I'll get to that in a second here. I go up again. These guys are doing an awesome job. They didn't use all the second alarm, but I go up to the BC and I go, hey, got your SCBA on? And I wasn't being sarcastic, but he goes, yeah, Chief. He goes, when I pulled up, he goes, I saw everybody with their SCBA on. I saw the wind starting to shift. So he goes, I threw it on. He goes, and by the time I did my 360 and everything else, I realized I didn't need it, but I got it on in case I need to. I'm like, Chief, great way to lead by example, also including bunker pants. We'll talk about that. But he is a battalion chief leading by example. But anyway, all this stuff is done. I go up to the engineer and I go, hey, one of our firefighters, I go, hey, Aaron, great job on the SCBA. And she goes, Chief, I don't get any credit for this one. She goes, my captain ordered me. I go, ordered you? She goes, oh yeah, ordered me because I was just getting water going and everything else. And my captain did her 360 and goes, get your darn SCBA on now. And I'm like, okay. Well, I go to the captain when things were all calmed down. I go, hey, Cap, I go, great job on the SCBA on your driver. Or no, excuse me, I jokingly said, why do you have your driver put an SCBA on? And I just wanted to see what her response was. And she looked at me, she goes, Chief, I did my 360. We parked, we left room for the truck. Trust me, I know there's conversations. We left room for the truck. They pulled past the structure. And then the next thing you know, she goes, I did my 360. When I came back, the wind had immediately shifted. Yeah, comments on the winds here. The winds aren't necessarily crazy bad, but where we're at, they can definitely be flowing at times. But anyway, the wind shifted and there was no way to move the rig because the truck was behind, the BC was to the left. There was an area where we have our second alarm pretty quickly there. So they couldn't move the rig. So anyway, they were stuck. She goes, I told my driver, get your darn SCBA on now. And she goes, what? She goes, get it on. Now, it didn't dawn on me after the fact. Now, how many of you could tell your driver, I mean, how many of you would even have your drivers with full gear on? And I'm not the guy from California that is telling you what to do, trust me. You do what you feel is appropriate, that's you. We expect our drivers and our BCs to wear turnout coats and pants. And you may go, that's overkill. Well, 3-person companies, trucks are 4, rescues are 4, but on the engines, 3-person company, they may be part of 2 in 2 out initially, or they may be whatever, or they may be part of the hazard zone. They are in the IDLH if you look at it when the wind shifts. And anyway, they're in a good position and they're leading by example, especially the chiefs. But anyway, when you look at this right now, I know some drivers, maybe in other departments, I would probably like, Chief, get out, SCBA, what the hell are you talking about? Anyway, hopefully that's not your case in your culture. But anyway, I post this on Twitter, it goes viral. And a lot of people giving a thumbs up and everything else. Well, the funny thing is, of course, all the snarky comments come. The snarky comment, that's pretty stupid. I love one of them. That driver could trip and break their ankle or sprain their ankle over that 5-inch hose there. And of course, yeah. And I'm dying. I'm going, seriously? You know what? I hate to say it. I don't wish anything bad on anybody, God forbid, as you hopefully realize by now. But if my driver sprains their ankle or even, God forbid, breaks their ankle or whatever leg, I'll take that over getting cancer any single day. Trust me. And you know what? Hate me for the rest of my life for making you put on it, for making you wear an SCBA. God forbid I give a crap about you. And as an officer, sometimes you may have to throw that back in their face. Like, you know what? Sorry I give a crap about you and your family. You may not care about yourself, but you know what? Care about your family. Do it for them. So anyway, and I see some people saying that's protocol for us. Hey, you know what? Your department's your choice. But again, I'm just trying to share suggestions, ideas, take them or leave them. I'm glad that's our culture. We're not thankfully struggling with having to tell people to put their stuff on. They get it. Talk a little bit about servant leadership. It's a term that's very popular in today's world. This is Southwest Airlines. I'm ready last year going back to Kansas City. Here I am. I'm flying out to Kansas City to teach a class in the Kansas City area. The weather is just sucking across the country. This is back before social distancing and all the other stuff. So I'm waiting to go teach a class the next day. I got to make my flight to Kansas City because there really is no other flights from San Jose Airport. So no big deal. I mean, I fly all the time, very fortunate. I'm sitting here, this plane is late. It happens, I get it. Well, anyway, there's like a full plane, 100 and whatever, 30 or 40 people all waiting here. And I wish I would have done a video of this. I just took a picture because it really dawned on me of how cool this was. But anyway, I'm watching this whole thing. That guy in the red shirt, let's say he's John. John is the gate agent. Anyone that's been to an airport or flown, John's that guy that basically dings everybody in, you know, welcome to Southwest Airlines, ding, 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 and basically is the accountability dude to make sure that all the people signed up get on the plane. If anyone isn't, he's that guy screaming at you, hey, get out of the bar, slam that drink, the plane's gonna be leaving. You know, we all have those people. He's got a tough job. He's already out there announcing that, you know what, the flight, wherever it was coming from, is gonna be about 30 to 45 minutes late. Now it's raining here, and I'm looking at the weather, it's raining and snowing everywhere. Mother Nature's kicking ass across the country. But anyway, I'm sitting here and I'm trying to keep my cool. I'm just chilling, catching up on emails. This poor guy, he's getting idiots walking up there all the time, basically saying, hey, how long's the plane going to be late? When's it going to arrive? And of course, all the guy does is look back at the screen above there and say, well, it says it's delayed till whatever time. So, and then of course the idiots, is that right? And I'm going, you guys are so, okay, being cool, calm, professional, respectful. He's like, that's all the information I have. They're getting pissed at him and everything else. And he's just a messenger. But anyway, I got people to the left of me. The lady to the left of me is already posting a negative Yelp review on Southwest. I'm thinking to myself, what the hell is she doing? She's talking to her friend. She goes, oh, I hate Southwest. She's sitting there posting, and I'm going to screw them, you know, and screw Southwest. I'm never going to fly them again. Give them a 1-star rating. I'm like, oh my God, I wish I had that much time and energy to deal with. And then the person on the right, I'm going to post to Twitter how sucky this is and everything else. I'm going to maybe get a free flight out of this. And I'm like going, and these are people in their 40s, their 50s, their 60s, entitlements alive and well. And I'm keeping my cool. This is good. I want to get the plane here. I want to get to Kansas City. Anyway, plane arrives. That guy in the white shirt's the captain. He immediately gets out first. He immediately, I guess, goes to run a coffee. All the people start disembarking. The gate agent's relieved because the gate agent knows that he wants to get all those people on board. He wants to get us the hell out of there into Kansas City because he's done with us. Anyway, that captain comes back, got a cup of coffee, and immediately tells, hey, Johnny, gate agent, are we ready to go? And Johnny's fumbling with paper, and he's like, ah, shit. He goes, I don't know, I got this. And look at the person in the front. There's a person in a wheelchair. Southwest Airlines has a lot of medical pre-boards. This one had like 9 or 10 medical pre-boards. I wish I would have shown you the snaking line of these people. Well, normally, people from other gates would go out and help the gate agent to help each other do their job. Well, today it wasn't going to happen because every gate was full. There's planes in the tarmac. Everyone's delayed. And all of a sudden, the pilot looks at Johnny, like I said, and says, is there anything I can do to help you? So he's got his cup of coffee in his hand. He's just sort of sitting there. And next thing you know, Johnny's like going, hey, thank you very much. He goes, could you help with the pre-boards? Because I got no one here. I got to get all these 10 people. That captain, without missing a beat, or pilot, I apologize if I screw up the title. That guy puts his cup of coffee down. He immediately walks up to the first person that he's doing right now, and I don't know what the person's name was, but immediately smile on his face. This is Southwest Airlines at their best. Customer service, always high ratings. Here's the captain going, ma'am, I'm Captain so-and-so, or pilot so-and-so of your Southwest 353 to Kansas City. We apologize for the delay. Can I get your boarding pass so I can get you loaded on? Do you have any bags? Is this your relative? And the lady's like, oh, thank you, sir. And he comes back with the co-pilot. The co-pilot, same thing. Next one. They tag team everybody there while Johnny is still dealing with knuckleheads that are coming up to the counter going, hey, am I going to make my connecting flight? Hey, what's this doing to everybody here? We've all seen that. Again, I wish I would have videotaped it. It's just comical. Testing my patience, without a doubt. Thank God I got patience sometimes. So here's this captain. Next thing you know, he looks at Johnny and goes, we're all done. Anything else I can do for you, brother? These guys apparently never met each other. I found it after the fact. But the pilot's just like, anything I do, brother? And the guy's like, no, thank you. Appreciate everything. Pilot's like, be safe. Good luck. We'll catch you next time. Pilot gets back in there. Next thing you know, all 140 of us line up in that plane. I got my seat. I got my bag. I'm ready to go. God forbid anything bad happens. We head out. We get there, we're late, no big deal. I able to teach my class, come back. Well, that pilot, as soon as he gets on, he's got people pissed off galore on the plane. This guy next to me is all pissed off and talking crap and everything else. And I'm dying, and one guy goes, this is bullshit and blah, 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 and Southwest sucks and all this stuff. And then the pilot goes, good evening, everybody. This is pilot so-and-so, flight whatever. I want to thank you all for your patience. You know, we apologize for being late here, but you know what? It's out of our control. Mother Nature is wreaking havoc and really causing everybody across the country. Every airline is feeling this right now. So number one, we're happy to get there, to get here so we can get you out. So we're going to be late, but we're going to try to make it up in the air, folks. So you know what? Just for the time being, remain calm. Beverages will be served shortly, as well as your peanuts, or excuse me, your pretzels now. You know what? We'll do the best we can. Thank you very much. I'll try to give you some periodic updates so we can make up some time. And I'm going, okay, whatever. It calmed down people. One guy next to me goes, he's going to make it up in the air. And I'm like, oh, if I can make it up in the air. I'm like, well, I didn't say that, but I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. I mean, I get it. But the pilot did that. And again, this is one I wish we had more interaction with. I mean, I see some people make some comments, and it is being recorded, thank God. But again, I love doing this in person, because for those that don't understand Southwest philosophy, I'm going to cut to the chase. Southwest, they hire for character, train for skills. We do the opposite. We usually hire for skills, thinking they make a great firefighter because they can pull hose, throw an SCBA fast, you know, whatever it is. And then we worry about character later. It should be the other way around. I can teach most people to throw a ladder, most people to pull hose, most people to don an SCBA. I can't teach you to be nice. I can't teach you to not be an asshole. I can't teach you not to be a jerk. That's the type of stuff that, coming back to my bullet points, gets us all in trouble. Yeah, Chief Vanadia, you can teach skills, you can't teach character. Exactly. That gets back to that personal leadership, that car. You're taught that stuff at birth. And if we can't change you on the job, you wonder why you're having personnel issues? It's because, again, you probably hired for skills, not for character. And I know a lot of us are desperate for the numbers of candidates or lack thereof that we're getting, but that's a whole nother conversation. This pilot did this for a number of reasons. Again, Southwest tries to hire the best of the best. They also do a job share program. Now, we in the fire service usually work our way up from firefighter to engineer to, you know, whatever rank it is. Sometimes we skip a rank depending on our structure or whatever happens, but airlines are different. But the point they make is they try to have everyone do job sharing. They also, not job sharing, they try to expose everyone to their jobs. They force those pilots, or encourage, I don't know how the wording is these days, but they force everybody to basically sit with somebody else for a while so they understand their job. That pilot's already spent time as a gate agent, with a gate agent, watching the stress and the headaches they deal with. That pilot's been down loading bags, understanding all the logistical challenges getting up there, what it takes to load the plane. That pilot's been there at the front counter and everything else. That pilot can appreciate it. That pilot understands he's part of the team. And that's where some of us, I think, tend to forget. There is no us versus them. Now, I posted this on Twitter, and it was interesting because a lot of people said, hell, if that was United, or if that was Delta, or that was whatever else airline, that wouldn't have happened. And I never realized that until I talked to a lot of people in the airlines, and they said basically those other airlines, their union agreements say that one person, one job, not one person, you know, one team, one fight. It's all, you don't cross-pollinate. Well, unfortunately, that sets up a system of, if this was some other airlines, that pilot would have pretty much looked at John and say, John, you're screwed. Yeah, we'll be late. Who cares? But you know what? Tell me when you're ready to go and we'll get the heck out of here. Have a nice day. Sucks to be you. Maybe not that harsh, but that's not Southwest philosophy. And you know what? We can adopt a lot of that from there, because you know what? We're all in this together here. But again, don't want to believe at that point. There's a little video I'm going to share of Dak. I'm not a Cowboys fan. No problem with Cowboys fans if any of you are out there. But Dak Prescott, Cowboys quarterback, is at the sidelines during a filming of a game, and he's drinking his Gatorade cup, and he throws over his shoulder. It's a short little 13-second clip.
Obviously, last 3 drives, 10 plays, 13 plays, and another 13 plays.
Basically, Dak Prescott's at the sidelines while his team is playing, and he basically throws the cup over his shoulder like most people would do. But he does a couple key things, and this is about personal leadership. Number one, he looks over his shoulder, and actually just to verify whether it goes in or not. And most people, if they looked over the shoulder and they saw it not go in, or just say, hey, I don't want to put the maintenance people out of work here. Got to help a fellow union brother out here. Well, he looked over his shoulder, saw it didn't go in. Number two, did a double take, picked it up, threw it in the trash can. Very few athletes, hell, very few people in general, including some of our firefighters of all ranks, probably wouldn't have even done a double take, let alone corrected that. I don't want to put someone out of a job. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not trying to be negative. I'm trying to be optimistic. But somebody, when I was teaching this class in Texas, goes, oh, no, that's his character. Again, he may not be the best quarterback out there in the world, but you know what? His character is one of the reasons he was hired. Now, for those of you that are Cowboys fans, And I just saw they hired Alden Smith, one of our former 49ers and Raiders out here, who had a whole bunch of challenges with the law about 4 or 5 years ago and has not been an angel or a saint. But so I guess that philosophy is out the window of hire for character. But anyway, Dak Prescott right there, he pretty much took the time. And someone told me that apparently knew of him said, oh no, that's the way he was raised. If his mama would have saw him, he didn't do that because he knew he was on TV. He didn't do that because he was being filmed. He did that because that was the way he was raised. And if he didn't pick it up, excuse me, his mama would have jumped out of the stands in Dallas there and probably grabbed him by the ear in front of everybody, pushing everybody aside, and probably would have kicked his butt. Or if it was a road game, she would be blowing up his phone with text messages saying he's embarrassing the family. That's the type of stuff. If there's a way, and I know some of you may disagree, go, well, we got to get the strongest, most fastest people to be firefighters. You know what? Great, but you know what? Give me character any day. I can maybe teach most people, but I can't teach to be nice. Now, here's a picture that shows one of our latest recruit academies, Our Choice. Here's a bunch of our firefighters taking the oath of office. They're up there from the stage basically saying, I solemnly swear, protect and serve, and basically serve the community. That oath of office, some of us tend to forget that at times. We're that brand new firefighter that sometimes I'll do anything. I'll go into burning buildings. I'll, grab people from the clutches of death. And we tend to forget that a little bit. Keep that in mind. Next picture is from a friend of mine, Brother John Dixon from New Jersey. He posted this a number of years ago on social media. It's a picture of a firehouse wall, I believe, if I remember correctly, with obviously some dirty walls. And the dirty walls someone took with a glove and wrote cancer basically through the diesel exhaust on the side there. Now, the point I'm making, go back to that Dak Prescott. If you play football, odds are you're going to probably get a concussion at some point or a head injury. I mean, there's no way around it. I mean, I wish I had a better answer. If you're a firefighter going into ideal H environments, as we do, there's a good chance, even with your full PPE, worn properly, there's still a chance that stuff can permeate through, we're finding out. So again, our job is to try to, yeah, we took the oath of office, but we also realize we got to do our job, do what's prepared, and the bad thing may still happen, sad to say, but let's not let our guard down and make it easy for it to happen. I talked about courage under fire leadership. Why does it take courage to be a leader in today's world, especially the fire service? Why does it take courage? Because I've hit a lot of those things. Nobody wants to be that guy, that gal. We all know that guy raises their hand and say, hey, no, we're not going to go there. No, let's not do that. Or no, excuse me, yes, we will do that. Because you think about it, you're that one person that raised your hand, and what does the brotherhood do? They look at you and go, huh? No, we ain't doing that. It takes courage to be a leader, to say no, stop it, knock it off. And that's okay, you're in good company. Even Alan Bernasini, who we've mentioned before, retired Phoenix chief, he took bullets through his career. He wasn't always the most loved individual in the world. There's a lot of people that talk crap about him for the change that he was trying to do. He's done a lot of good for the fire service that's still in place, but he took a lot of bullets as well. You got to be able to take bullets and have a flak jacket to resist them. It takes courage to do the right thing, to do things right, because doing the right thing and doing things right are not always the same, and then everyone sometimes has their different definitions. That's challenging. We talked about service over self. We talked about doing what's best for your crews, your department, ultimately your community. I mean, that's why it takes courage, because nothing is always easy. Got a picture here of a fire chief officer. I would assume it's a battalion chief. This was posted recently on social media. I don't know who to give credit to, because as you know, on social media, everyone just shares the information. Picture of a fire battalion chief on top of an engine company, apparently reloading hose after a fire. And the title caption is leadership. And when you look at the chief officer, he's got his white helmet on, he's got his white turnout coat with a cool radio sling holster there, like we all have to make us look cool and bitchin'. And then he's got his what looks to be wool pants, whether they're Ben Davis or Dickies or his day wools on. He's got no turnout pants on. Now, everyone, I mean, I wasn't going to even chime in because, God forbid, I made a comment on that post of going, yeah, Chief, nice leading by example and nice to wear your pants. I would have been crucified blanket party wise. Oh, don't focus on the small stuff. That's a chief. He's a fireman's fireman. He didn't forget where he came from. He's helping load hose. I get all that stuff, but Chief, what happens when you promote to fire? Okay, you expect your firefighters, your engineers, and your captains to wear their full gear. And then all of a sudden we become gold badges. I'm sorry if I'm disrespecting any chiefs out there. Please don't take it personal. But you know what? If it's 100 degrees or whatever degrees out there and you expect your troops to wear that gear, why aren't you wearing it yourself? Lead by example. That to me is true leadership. You look at some other pictures. Charleston, South Carolina, the tragedy we all are fully aware of there when 9 brothers lost their lives in 2007 in June. You know, here's the fire chief at the time, Rusty Thomas. I mean, I'm not going to, this is a great case study. If you haven't been exposed to it, please share this with your crews. But here's the chief, you know, suspenders that are hanging out there, you know, chin strap not on the, I got a leather helmet too. And I know it's cool and bitching to wear my helmet without the chin strap, but you know what? We're better than that. You know, here's a chief. If you want to lead by example, dress the part. You look at another picture here, Rusty Thomas. This is Chief Mark Bashir when he was up in Prince George's County, Maryland. Here's a chief of a 1,000-member department, biggest combination volunteer paid department career department that I'm aware of. Here he is. He's got an SCBA on. He's got his full turnouts. I'm assuming he's got a pants on, especially turnout pants, because I have seen people in funny memes wearing SCBAs with shorts on, but that's a whole nother story. But here's a chief, and there's people that say, he's a fire chief, a 1,000-member metro-sized department. Why the hell does he have his bottle on? He's leading by example. Now, if he's grabbing a nozzle, touching a ladder, pulling hose, unless it's a mission-critical thing, which it probably isn't, he's got plenty of talented members on his department that can do that job fine. He's doing it from a PR standpoint and a leadership by example, from what I understand of the man. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. But the thing is, it's good. Our chief does the same thing too. When he gets out on scene, SCBA on, full turnouts on, he's not going to go in the hazard zone. I mean, if you're a small department where you only have maybe 10 members, 20 members, you're the only chief, I get it. You're going to go in the hazard zone. But when you're a bigger department, if anything else, show up there to show support to your troops, lead by example, and check in. Hey guys, great job. How you doing? Anything I can do for you? You know, yeah, love to see the hood on. Good comment there. Now, people talk about expectations. I like to keep it short and sweet. I touched on do your job, and a lot of people go, hey, Steve, what are your expectations? Because if you're a supervisor without expectations, how do you expect to hold people accountable? If you go to my website, code3firetraining.com, back to the free stuff link I shared earlier, I have my expectations on there. And basically, I try to narrow it down. You're not me, I'm not you. Find what works for you in your situation, your department. But again, if it was up to me, do your job, do the right thing, take care of those that we serve, which is everybody within and outside the department. Be safe, seriously, but not stupidly safe. Have fun. Number 4 is important. Keep your boss informed, but give them bullets for their gun. Meaning, you want your boss to support you, but you know what? You got to support your boss. For example, if you're not following policy, you're not wearing your SCBA and you get an exposure, now you get cancer. Oh, my boss isn't going to bat for me. My city isn't going to bat for me. The city's screwing me and not giving my cancer, medical benefits. Well, if you want them, I hate to say us, for them to help you, you got to help yourself. So bullets for the gun mean do the right thing and make it easy on your boss. Don't make your boss cover a lie for you. Then lastly, we touched on earlier, lead the fire service better than you found it. There's a question on there that I'm not going to be able to get to right now because I want to get through a few things. We're going to hopefully save it to the end of when do you delegate, when do you lead by example. So sorry about that, Scott. And I'll be happy to try to cover that later. Here's a picture just to open your eyes a little bit. There's a Ring doorbell on the left, and then there's a body cam from a cop on the right. The only quick thing I want to share here is I want to expose you to things. We don't wear body cams, thank God. But you know what? We're around law enforcement officers that do. So I think the big wake-up call for a lot of companies and crews is remember that, you know what? When you're on scene, the cops are filming and recording. So you know what? You got to, not to mention everybody else out in the street that's filming us. It's sometimes the cops. And when you're at that Ring doorbell at 3 in the morning and basically saying, oh my God, as you're ringing the doorbell for the 5th time, here we are for the 8th friggin' time this week to help Mrs. Smith. God forbid, what now, Mrs. Smith, as you're snarky with your crew, all doing what we do. I get it, been there, done that. And then next thing you know, the doorbell opens. Oh, hi, Mrs. Smith. Great to see you again for the 10th time this week. What can we do now? It's being filmed, and no different from inside structures where you got Alexa filming you, Echo's filming you. We could spend a whole 2-hour class just discussing the bad points there. So remind your crews of things to always be on your best behavior because the next thing you know, you don't want that stuff coming back to bite you. Again, give your boss bullets for their gun. Another resource I share about decision-making. As an officer or leader, you're going to make ethical decisions daily. This is the headline test that one of our retired BCs, Wally Fink, shared with me, and I built upon it. When you're making ethical decisions, not everyday decisions, but ethical ones that have life or death consequences or something that may get you or somebody else in trouble, I'll cut to the chase here. Number 1 is the right thing for the community. Again, community is number 1. Nothing personal, but we got to take care of our folks. They take care of the community, but we also are here for the community. So I don't want to blur the lines there, but community, the department, and our folks as a whole, the department. Number two, would I mind reading about it in social media? Meaning if I do something stupid, do I want the world to know, oh yeah, that was me that allowed that to happen? Can I justify it to my family, my supervisors, my union e-board? And when I say justify it is here, you get a 30-day suspension for doing something inappropriate because of Firehouse Fun. How do you go home and tell your wife, oh yeah, I got the month of June off, we can now go on that vacation once this, social distancing stuff is done? And then your wife goes, why are you off for the month? You trades? No, I got suspended. What'd you do? Well, I did that. You dummy. Now you don't have any money, blah, blah, but you got to be able to justify it to your family, your bosses, because no, I don't ever want to have to tell my boss who asks me, hey, Steve, what the heck were you thinking? I hate having to answer those questions. I try not to do that. Number four, can you live with yourself if things go south, meaning you get yourself fired, suspended, terminated, or get cancer, or something even worse? And no, more importantly, can you tie it into your mission statement? I always love that one. Thank God we don't get a lot of personnel issues. Those occasional ones, I've had to say that in the past of, hey, you know what? There'll be no discipline. What? If you can say what you did, how it tied into our department mission statement, you're walking. And of course, usually, oh, I can't tie it into the mission statement. Do it for the community, number one. There's another picture here of that made social media after the first of the year, photos of Detroit firefighters posing in front of a burning building. Now, I know we could spend a lot of time on this one here. I'm not trying to point out Detroit or anybody else, but the information was out there. Courage under fire leadership. There's 13 plus individuals, many of whom were disciplined because they didn't do their jobs of stopping it. Detroit has a let it burn policy, as far as I know. From what I understand, it's not let it burn. I mean, it's put water on it, maybe just from the outside, but don't let it burn. And before you say that was a vacant house, like, Lightly and Egan talked about, apparently that was maybe vacant because nobody was living in there at the time, because it was getting remodeled apparently by someone that posted on Facebook after they saw this and said, that was my grandma's house, that we're remodeling the house. She's not in it right now, but now we, basically because you guys didn't put water on it, we can't salvage anything. None of us win by that one. And you wonder why city council members and city managers and mayors go, well, why do we even have a fire department if they're not going to even do their job? I'm not saying go in and kill yourselves when necessary, but again, there's time and place to get ourselves in the building. I'm not going to belabor that point. But again, how would you like to be the firefighter that raised your hand and say, hey guys, I'm the junior rookie here. This ain't the cool thing to do. That's someone's house. This is not professional. We know what's going to happen. Everybody else, hey, shut up, rookie. Forget about it. This is the cool, and I get it. But again, what are you going to do? But again, you got to live with yourself when you are on your deathbed and after the fact. I talked about prompting for success, which is basically don't allow brothers to enable or cover for the brothers and sisters. That's true brotherhood. Encourage them instead to take care of their brothers and sisters, because we don't allow others to fail. Winding down here, we've got about 7 minutes, give or take, as we go through here. So I'm going to sort of high-level view some of the stuff here. Picture of a tiller truck that pretty much got taken out by a overpass and everything else. The driver's ultimately responsible. The captain's ultimately, or officer's ultimately responsible, obviously. The driver's the one driving the vehicle. The tiller operator is usually not the one that's a legal driver in most communities. But you got a 5-person crew or 4-person crew, I blame everybody that can look forward. Obviously, if the guys in the jump seats are looking backwards, they're out of the picture. But if anyone that's looking forward, this is a team effort to get ourselves the call. Well, the baby's not breathing. Guess what? The baby is still not breathing at this point here, because guess what? We ain't going anywhere, because we got to call police, check on our crew members, check on the damage, call the battalion chief, send another rig to the call. Yeah, so much for the baby not breathing. A couple other shots. Talk about relationships. It's all about relationships, getting to know those around you ASAP. And this goes for new firefighters, encouraging new firefighters to start learning the names and faces of everybody on the job as soon as possible, because a big department, the longer it's going to take. Not just within your department, but other agencies, officers especially, find out the strengths and weaknesses of your personnel so you can help build and maintain relationships. There's a picture here of a cop in front of a free donut sign. Our fire station's next door to the police department. Pranks ensue. Yeah, it's good to play pranks, but be careful of posting this on social media, because of course, knowing what we do, our egos, we take it one step above. The next shot is, hey, cops are getting back at us. Here's a picture of a firehouse with a sign in front, shh, firemen sleeping, and cops score of 1, firefighters score of 0. Fun is good, but the problem is, especially us with our temperament and our team mentality, we keep one-upping this crap, and the next thing you know, someone's going to get hurt, someone's going to get offended or butt hurt, as they say today. You got to balance it all. So have fun, but not at the expense of others, but definitely build relationships, encourage your cops to come over the station. We talk about generations a little bit. Here's a picture of a kid and a dad. I love this picture. Dad with his head basically with his hair receding, and then the kid's got the opposite cut where dad's got no hair on top, all the hair on the sides, and the kid's got no hair on the sides, all the hair on the top. But that is so true. You know what? Don't bash generations. We're all in this together. You know, what goes around comes around. And there's another picture that I saw months ago on social media. This technology is making us antisocial. Here's a bunch of people, I don't know, in the 40s, the 30s, the 50s. They're in a train. They're all in their suits. They're all reading the old school paper newspapers. And the comment, technology is making us anti-social. No, don't blame the technology. If you're the captain and you don't like the technology, correct the behavior. Hey guys, you know what? The kitchen is a no phone zone. Put your phones on the counter. We don't talk. You know, this is our sacred zone. Do whatever you feel is appropriate. So a few other pictures about fireground selfies. There's a lot of people posting fireground selfies on the internet. Try not to let that happen on your watch, because again, we talked about the Detroit one. It just isn't any. Again, why have a fire department if that's what you're going to do? The suicides, there's a great Paul Combs picture from Fire Engineering Magazine of, I've been thinking about suicide, please help. And then the caption at the bottom, if it's only that obvious. You know what? That's the problem that scares the crap out of me with suicide, especially mental health, is you think something's going great at one moment, and then the next minute, they're gone. And you're like, they didn't leave a note. Life was good. What the heck happened? You got to care. You got to do a buddy check. You got to take care of others. But you know what? Sometimes you can do your best and you won't even know. And that's the crappy part. But we got to at least show that we care. Think about this General Colin Powell quote here. If you're an officer, being responsible means pissing people off. Just think about that. If you're not pissing anybody off, that was me as a new captain. I didn't want to piss anyone off. You're part of the problem. If you're pissing people off majority of the time, you're part of the problem. Think about that. So try not to let that happen. So you don't want to piss people off all the time, but you got to balance it out here. I'm just going to go through a few of the slides here just to get to some of the key points that I wanted to touch on. Really the main critical area, number 2, about the firehouse. This picture here is a picture of a toilet paper roll that is on top of a empty roll there. A friend of mine from a neighboring department took this picture and posted on social media. It's basically the crews are too lazy or too complacent to put the toilet paper roll back on. You know what? We've all seen it. When I was a firefighter, go out freaking B shift, you know, they too lazy to put the toilet paper back on. As an officer, a leader, I hope that scares the crap out of you. When you see this stuff at your firehouse, you better be stressing galore, sweat the small stuff, because how are their rate checks being done? How are whatever else going on? Because if they're cutting corners here, they're cutting corners elsewhere. So it's those little things at the end of the day. I really stress leadership and teamwork doesn't start at the top. It starts at the firehouse. Don't blame your fire chief or your admin for stuff. Leadership starts at the firehouse and ends there, because that's where most of our bad stuff and our good stuff occurs. So kitchen table is one of the most sacred places in the world. Like I talked about a couple of our kitchen tables at one of our stations. I love the pride and ownership that goes into this stuff. But again, maybe that's that zone. You say, guys, you know what? Leave your phones on the counter, put them on vibrate. If it rings, go out to the app floor. I had a captain go, well, I can't do that. We don't have a policy. You're the captain of the house. Make it happen. You complain about the guys on their phones all day, tell them to get off the phones. So a few other things I just want to cut through here. I think there's a lot of good points I'd love to have more time on. Maybe we'll get a chance to do a second round on at some point, because I want to really get to the end of what we have right here. The only points I want to cover right now on go, no go, because like I said, the guys have done a great job on go, no go. That was my third critical area. I think here we got a fire that's fully involved in a structure. We all hopefully realize in our hearts that even if you get a report of someone trapped, I know we got to see all 4 sides and everything else, but imagine all 4 sides of this, a fully involved building. Hey, guess what? You know what? We ain't going in. I know your firefighter's humping your leg with the hose. We got to go in. We got babies inside. You're going to have that courage to say, you know what? We're staying outside. And you know what? We're not going anywhere. Sorry. And looks like my video might have frozen up, so we'll deal with that. But I'm not sure if on my side it's frozen up, but we'll continue through here. We're almost done here. The next picture here is a street that I took by my house. It's a street with a lot of cars. On the opposite side of not going into a structure, there's a time and place to get your butt in that building. especially now with COVID-19 and the sheltering in place, if you're not figuring that there's at least one person in every building, I'm not saying be stupid, but you know what? You can't say, well, I got to wait for 2 in, 2 out. You know what? You've got to realize there's a good chance there's multiple generations, especially in our area with high cost living, but multiple people inside structures. You can't just write off buildings either. So that said, you've got to do what's best for the community and everybody else. So my last few items that I want to share here. I wrote an article for Fire Rescue Magazine a number of years ago. Chaos should not stand for a captain or chief has arrived on scene. Now, I don't want to offend any chiefs here. I am one. I resemble that remark. But I want to share a little video. Don't let chaos stand for chief or captain has arrived on scene. It's a picture of an old Crown Vic station wagon coming up to a fire. We've got some guys on a 2.5 surrounding and drowning, pissing in the, actually they're probably 1.5 inches pissing in the wind, but they need deck guns. They need deck guns galore. Here comes a wood paneled chief station wagon, drives right over the 5-inch hose. We've all maybe seen that one. Please don't be that chief. You got it. Yeah. Don't make the situation any worse, chief. Please don't. All right, really at the end of the day, take care, be safe, keep the mission, remain focused on our mission, which is ultimately serving those within our department, outside of our department, our communities, our personnel. Do the best you can with what you have to work with. Sometimes, especially in these tough times, which I think we're going to be focusing on some tough economic times soon, you know what? Times are going to get worse before they get better, and that includes budgets, especially with reduced property taxes and sales taxes. So do the best you can with what you have. We're not us versus them. I try to end my presentations with a little tribute. Mark McCormick, like I said, we lost on February 13th, 2005. Mark was electrocuted at a structure fire. I know you're not going to prevent every LODD, but we got to do our best when we can. There's a lot of lessons learned in that tragedy that are out there on the NIOSH report. I'm more than happy to send it with you as well, or any other bad things that we've discussed that don't relate to LODDs, but cancer, punitive discipline, mental health issues, and everything else. I love the one comment, don't be the fire pentagon. Yeah, fire triangle, fire tetrahedron, then the fire pentagon, the white hat. Fifth side's the chief. Yeah, I know that. And then obviously when you're doing the right thing, you're going to feel alone. And that's the feeling I want you to get. At some point, lonely, it is lonely at the top. You're going to feel lonely. There's a picture here that I took at FDIC a couple of years ago. A guy was walking around the conference room. He had an ICS vest on. It didn't say incident commander. It didn't say PIO. The vest basically said department asshole. I saw that. I go, I got to take a picture of this, because sometimes you're going to be that guy or gal that raises your hand, and you're going to be the department asshole because you had the courage to be a leader. No one else was. You're going to be the asshole. If you're feeling like that 100% of the time, realize you're part of the problem. If you're never feeling like that, you're probably not doing your job, just like pissing people off. But it's a balance. Know when to say when. So really, some resources I have out there, my promotional preparation book, How to Excel at Fire Department Promotional Exams, as well as a couple entry-level books as well, are on my website, Code 3 Fire Training, as well as iTunes or Amazon. I'm also working on an exciting book project right now that will hopefully come out early next year. 101 Nuggets, I think, is the working title, to assist you on your next promotional exam, and as well as a couple Courage Under Fire leadership books. More importantly, all my contact information at the end there. Code3firetraining.com is my website. I've got my Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn on there, my email address. More importantly, I'm a resource. I really thank all of you for your time. I wish we could be in person, but I think this is the next best thing given the circumstances. So I want to thank my brothers and mentors on the Firehouse Kitchen Table for allowing me the opportunity to really be a part of such a great, awesome lineup here. So at the end of the day, do the best you can. And I'm a resource. When you feel like you're the department asshole, or feel free to call me up, email me, text me. I'm more than happy to say, you know what, you did the right thing. Leadership is tough. But again, I'm a resource, and hopefully our paths will cross if they haven't already sometime in the future. So that's all I got from my end, and I'll be happy to hang around for chat for a little bit here. I think I've got to share my screen back with Chief Starnes. Is that correct? Wait for Chief Starnes to reply here to see if I need to just close it out here. So I'll close it out here. Thank you for the gift of your time, everybody.
Everyone, Chief P is unable to hear us. So if you can put your questions or comments for Chief P in the chat room, he'll be able to read them and address them.
So since we have everybody on here, we're going to just do today's giveaways quick. I'm at work, so I don't know if you can hear me or not because the Wi-Fi is terrible, but we're going to do it like we did last night for those of you that were on. stand by. Could be somebody from my job screwing with me. But all right, here's the let me share the Excel sheet. Let's see. There's the random number generator. Here should be the email list. So here's all the names. What I did was I removed the one entry from the 2 winners last night so that they don't, we don't double it up. I hope everybody's cool with that. And we'll do it. All right. Here we go. 256. Let's see. We'll shoot back to the Excel here. And if you have this, can you either send me a message in the chat or get a hold of us so we can get your mailing address and get stuff out to you? So Isaac Wainston, sorry if I said it wrong. You're today's winner of the Flare K1, generously donated from Insight Training. If you can reach out to us and get us your address so we can get it in the mail to you.
By pressing *6.
Okay, so Isaac's got the Flare K1. Yeah, let's go back.
You are unmuted.
All right.
Hey guys, this is Steve on. This ain't working.
Can somebody mute all those guys, whoever's in control here? All right. Oh, it was 139, the first one, sorry. I clicked it twice. 139. Is Matthew Kidd. So I'm assuming that everybody heard that. Matthew Kidd and Isaac Wainston are the winners today of the lights donated from Fox Fury and the camera K1 donated by Insight Training. Please shoot me a text in the chat if you're in here. If not, get a hold of us somehow and we'll reach out. I don't know who's taking over from here to close it out, but appreciate all of you. We were able to get a nice donation out to the National Fallen Firefighters and the Firefighter Cancer Support Network. You can't hear me, Jack? I'm sorry. I'm on archaic Wi-Fi in my self-quarantine at the firehouse here.
Can you hear me, Sean?
I'll type it in here, but.
Sean, we can hear you for what it's worth. I can hear you.
I can hear both you and Andy, Mike.
It's kind of weird. Who can hear who, right, John? I don't know. It's weird.
Well, we want to thank everybody. Mike, can you hear me?
I can, Andy.
All right. We want to thank everybody for your support. Sorry for the Zoom conferencing issues, but what I read recently, evidently a nationwide epidemic of Zoom got overtaxed. The last 2 presentations were recorded since we had some technical issues. We will send out instructions on how to access those later. Also, those that won prizes, please email us your shipping address. They will be shipped directly from us to you, so no bouncing around. And we raised over $3,000 for the charities, and that's all because of your support. Greatly appreciate the instructors. Please extend your thanks to them for taking.
If Chief Starnes is still on here, we're gonna let him say goodbye here for us.
He can't hear me, can he?
I'll text him in the room.
We greatly appreciate it. Thank you all so much. Some of you can hear us, some of you can't. We'll send out thank yous in the chat room. Evidently, it's a server issue. Evidently, half of the viewers can hear and half can't. But we will definitely send out the recordings later, and I'll send out a message here. But thank the instructors for their time and sacrificing 2 days of doing all this. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you all. And you'll be getting instructions on how to access the recording later. Thank you.
Strong work, guys. Thank you very much for pulling this off.
Bro, you're the one who put it together. Thank you.
How you doing, John?